We've all been there. Relationships that feel shaky, uncertain, or emotionally draining. What if the key to thriving relationships and emotional peace was simpler than we think? Well, it all comes down to one thing: attachment style. But not just any attachment style. Secure attachment. See, it's all in the name. In this video, I'm going to break down the habits that securely attached people practice every day that make their relationships more stable, meaningful, and fulfilling. You might be surprised at how simple these are. And don't worry, you're not just born into it. They're to be developed. Before we dive in, smash that like button if you're tired of being caught in toxic relationship patterns, and make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on more life-changing insights. Okay, let's get into it. Secure attachment. When you're emotionally stable, grounded, and able to form healthy, trusting relationships with others. If you're not afraid of being abandoned, you're not clingy or overly dependent, you have a healthy sense of self-worth, and you don't sabotage your own happiness by second-guessing everything. Now, you're probably wondering, how can I be more securely attached?
Well, great news. Secure attachment isn't just something that you're born with.
It's something that you can develop.
And it starts with small daily habits.
Let's get into habit number 1, grounded self-worth. Securely attached people know their worth. They're not constantly looking outside of themselves for external validation. This doesn't mean that they're perfect or have no self-doubt, but they're more resilient in their self-esteem. The key here is something psychologists call self-differentiation, and the ability to recognize and separate your emotional reactions from external events. Research from Dr. Brené Brown, you've probably heard of her name if you're into personal growth. She shows that secure attachment is built on vulnerability and authentic connection. In her research, she talks about how those with secure attachment don't need to prove their self-worth to others. They just know they have inherent value. This sense of groundedness comes from consistent self-reflection and gratitude practices. So if you want to be more secure, start by practicing self-compassion every day. Start journaling 3 things that you're grateful for and remind yourself of your strengths. It sounds simple, but the science supports it. Self-compassion actually rewires your brain to be less reactive and more resilient. And habit number 2, emotional regulation. Now let's talk about emotions, because let's face it, emotions can be complex. Securely attached people are skilled at regulating their emotions. This doesn't mean that they suppress or ignore them. Rather, they process their emotions in a healthy way. A study out of the University of California found that securely attached individuals tend to have higher emotional intelligence and are better at identifying, naming, and dealing with their feelings without letting them spiral out of control. In other words, they're emotionally centered and emotionally intelligent. This skill is all about mindfulness. It's something that we can all practice. You can start by learning the art of decentering, which means detaching from your emotions to observe them objectively. When you get triggered, take a step back, breathe, and ask yourself, what is really going on here? What's the deeper feeling behind this reaction? By doing this, you can break free from emotional reactivity and respond with more clarity and calmness. And habit number 3, healthy boundaries. Boundaries, let's talk about them. Securely attached people are masters at setting boundaries. And it's because they understand that boundaries are not walls. They're just guidelines that protect their emotions, well-being, and relationships. A powerful concept that we see in recent psychological work is something called boundary setting for self-respect. New research from the Journal of Clinical Psychology suggests that people who establish healthy boundaries experience less anxiety and depression because they feel empowered and respected in their relationships. And here's the thing, securely attached people, they don't just set boundaries for the sake of it, they also respect others' boundaries, creating a balance of trust and mutual respect. So how can you start setting better boundaries today? Well, try saying no when you feel overwhelmed, and practice saying yes only to things that align with your values and needs. And remember, healthy boundaries help you to feel safe in relationships, whether it's with family, friends, or romantic partners. Habit 4, secure attachment behaviors. So let's talk about secure behaviours. What do securely attached people actually do in relationships? Well, they prioritise open and honest communication and emotional closeness. They don't run from tough conversations. They engage with them, whether it's addressing a conflict head-on or having a heart-to-heart conversation about needs. Securely attached people know that connection thrives on vulnerability and transparency. And this is interesting. Securely attached people don't just avoid toxic behaviours, they actively encourage positive ones. They nurture trust, they make time for their relationships, and they show up consistently. It's about being present and supportive when others need them, without being overly enmeshed or dependent. Now, what an art with boundaries and emotional intelligence. So this behaviour isn't automatic. It's a habit that builds over time. It's something that you can practice by simply showing up for the people in your life, even when it's hard or uncomfortable. And that's where assertive communication, compassionate communication comes into. And habit number 5. Positive self-talk.
Last, but certainly not least,
Securely attached people have an incredible relationship with their inner dialogue. They don't entertain thoughts that put them down or make them feel small. Instead, they practice what's called adaptive thinking. Studies from Harvard's Emotional Regulation Lab have shown that self-compassionate self-talk, like "I'm doing the best I can" or "it's okay to not be perfect," leads to lower levels of anxiety and greater levels of resilience. You can reframe negative thoughts with more supportive ones. So next time that you're facing a challenge, instead of thinking, "I can't handle this," shift it to, "I've been through tough situations before and I can get through this too."
this small shift is incredibly powerful in fostering secure attachment to yourself.
So to sum it all up, securely attached people have grounded self-worth, they can regulate their emotions, set healthy boundaries, engage in positive, transparent relationships, practice adaptive thinking and self-compassion. And these are the habits that make them emotionally resilient, able to thrive in both their personal lives and relationships. And here's the thing, you can start building these habits today. They're not just out of reach with some thing that you're born with. You can start by practicing these real changes and how you interact with yourself and others. Remember, you're not stuck where you are. The power to change is in your hands. If you found this video helpful, press the subscribe button and comment which habits you found helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.